Are the people and we have the power. And I am honored and blessed today to have somebody that a lot of us know, somebody that's been in the community for a long time, has done a lot of work in the community, and is putting in their hat to run for city councilor at large. And he is my first city councilor at large guest. I will be having more on. And so we're going to say good morning to Cliff Braithwaite.
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 Good morning, Priscilla. You know me a million years. you know what happens with the Braithwaite name. I'm the American side of the Braithwaites, and West Indians say Brathwaite. So that's why people be getting it twisted. But no, I'm the American side, so I say Braithwaite.
Okay. How you doing this morning?
I am blessed and highly favored, and it's good to know that I'm one of the first at-large candidates on your show since we're getting ready for the general election, so I'm proud of that. November 7th.
Yes. So, Cliff, tell us a little bit about you, some of the things you've done, some of the campaigns you've worked on, and tell us why you decided to jump in an at-large race.
Well, one, I first give all the glory to God and my team that's been around me for 3 decades of doing this work.
I thought you was in the entertainment business.
yeah, but it's actually 3 decades of community activism because I use music as a springboard, because I come from the traditional hip-hop, and hip-hop was about being the voice of the people and speaking on things. So I didn't know I was being trained that whole time to become an activist. So I just used the music to flip it around. But the reason why I put my hat in the arena, we need leadership at City Hall that really cares and is genuine about the work. For me, this is not work. This is a lifestyle. I actually enjoy servicing our community. It means the world to me. I've worked with a lot of campaigns. I've worked with a lot of initiatives. But the biggest thing is to see the joy in the young people's faces and the elders' faces on just being proud that the work that I do and getting motivated to get involved. I'm just a beacon of light, and I'm just glad I'm able to motivate other people to get involved. That's really my joy in this work. But to go back on leadership in City Hall, we need someone that understands the past to where we're at now and not trying to reinvent the wheel. You must know what the Boston legacy is about and where we came from. So that's one of the reasons I put my hat in the arena, to make a difference in Boston's politics and to represent the people who look like you and I. Period.
All right. So I like your little flyer here.
Thank you.
So I know that you have worked on several campaigns.
Yes.
And I know you worked with Steve Tompkins.
Yep.
I know you worked. I know you worked with Michael Curry.
Yep.
You worked with other electeds.
Other electeds, other programs. And when you talk about Michael Curry, a lot of people don't know. I actually chased him down and said, God told me that I have to help you get into NAACP office because we had the problem with the old God against the new God. And it shouldn't be anything wrong with passing the baton to the next generation so they can be the next leaders. We can't hold on just to the old ways of things. We have to be more motivated, because when you really look at the different organizations in our city, they're dying out because they didn't give the youth a chance to get involved. And then you expect them to jump in and know everything. They're going to go through the problems and hurdles of growth. So that's why I don't mind seeing young people getting engaged in politics or getting engaged in activism, because you got to have a start somewhere. And actually, my start started at 8, but people don't want me to claim 8 years old. But that was the first time I held a sign. The first time I got engaged with working in Roxbury at an elderly spot, working with the elders, playing bingo, chess, going to the corner store. I got those lessons very early in my life. That's why it's not work for me.
So tell me, we know that there's issues and problems down at City Hall, not only in the city council but also the mayor. There's some issues, that we have and questions that we have for the mayor, and she's, I don't think she's being really responsive. I feel like she, some of the things that's going on, like the issue with Franklin Park, 851 units being put in Franklin Park, that's insane to me.
We both were at that meeting at the Brook High School, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a wrap. That's a done deal. They already started doing construction without asking the community, not asking the residents.
This is the problem. And Franklin Park, it's not only JP, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's on the JP people. No, it's not JP. It's Dorchester.
It's Dorchester,
It's
yeah.
Roxbury. All Franklin Park Circle, Rosendale,
Dale.
all that.
All
you know?
that, yeah.
And so I'm not happy with that at all. I'm not happy with the fact that we asked for elected school committee. We voted for elected school committee. But yeah,
I think it was 68%.
No, I think it was like 70. It was 70, close to 80%.
Oh,
It was
close to
a lot.
80.
It was a big number. And so, those are some of the issues. We already know that 2 of our city councils of color are leaving.
Yeah.
That's Aurora and Laura.
Yeah.
And so because I ran myself in 2019, and I always felt like when you run for office because you want to serve and help people.
Yep.
And I believe that's how it really starts off. But then sometimes I think people get caught up in the fanfare. They get caught up in being, their name in lights and all that stuff. And they don't want to do the work.
Well, what separates me from
Won't do the work.
a lot of people with me being an operative, I just didn't jump on the campaign because it was about the money. It's never about the money. It's about the access that they're going to provide for our people. And you have to really look at it like this. Did these people get into it because they were born to lead, or they want to fake that they're leaders? And they obviously show it by the decisions that they make, the things that they don't vote on, and they're not hands-on. Too many of them in the office are just hiding behind that bully pulpit and not putting in the work for the people. And that's the problem. We really have to dive deep and really look and research the people that we're allowing to be leadership in our community. And that what separates me is every candidate that I ever worked for, I would always tell them a personal story of where they came from, and they would always wonder why. How did I know? Because I actually researched the candidates before I decided to work with them. We need people that understand what it takes to lead and to be servants of the people. You are not a rock star. You're not even really a leader, because you're working for the leadership of the community to bring something better to them. You're leading by example. And those are the problems I have, and that's why I put my hat in the arena.
So how are you doing? How do you think you're doing?
Well,
First,
I got to give God all the glory, because to keep the work that I'm going in, the team that I have that's putting in the work and the hours, definitely heaven sent. We've knocked to this time, to this day, over 50,000 doors. People say 50,000 doors. Yeah, I started a year ago. My campaign started a year ago, and actually a year before that. God loves order. So I knew exactly the date and time that I was going to run for office. A lot of people didn't realize it, even when I was telling them. Like even with my speech, God bless the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Boston residents that make things happen. I made that saying over 10 years ago. And then one of my guys heard me say it after I was announcing that I was running. He was like, oh, that's a great speech. I said, I really actually made that 10 years ago. And I was able to play it back at a hip-hop show that I was doing. So God loves order. I love order. That's like, I hate being late. I hate wasting people's time. And I'm a student to always being on time and being correct and learning the best I can.
And so, there was no preliminary this year because there was only 8 candidates.
Yes.
And because there's 4 at-large seats
Yep.
available, so there has to be at least 8 people.
Yep, 8. Yep.
So there are, I don't know some of the candidates that are running, but I will hope to get to know them. I've reached out to every one of them, asking them to come on our show. And we also sent them letters about our forum that we're doing on the 25th. So I want to put that in people's ears. On October 25th, the block is sponsoring
Yes.
a at-large city council candidates forum at Lena Park on American Legion Highway. So hopefully you all will come out and be able to ask questions of our candidates at large, because it's been rocky. It's been really sad for in our community. Like yesterday, I was at the Nubian Square Task Force with Katrina Cooley and a lot of other folks that are out there trying to work with our people that's migrating from Madison Cass to Nubian Square, to Grove Hall, to Carbon Square, to Ashmont Station. You see these pockets of people who either have mental health issues, alcoholic issues, drug issues, and these people are out in the street. And we were talking, and they were saying, like, some people don't want to change. Some people don't want to stop. Some people don't want to live, in a nice environment. But for those who do, we need to help them. And Madison Cass has been an issue for a long time. Madison Cass just didn't start happening. It's been a issue and a problem.
I mean, it started as far as back when they started getting rid of mental state facilities, right? That was the first wave. That's when it happened. And then they pushed everybody to Long Island. Then once once they closed down that Long Island, this is the repercussions of years of non-service to our community. And when I say our community, just because I'm a man of color, just don't think I'm talking about a man of color or women of color. I'm talking humanity. At the end of the day, if a bunch of aliens came on this planet, they're not going to look at you and I as being different colors. They're going to say that's the human race, and that's who we're destroying, and that's who we got to protect. They always throw out these cliches about, well, some people don't want help. Mental illness is serious. But this is what the people were saying that are actually out here working with the people. So I think. But is that their assumption, or is that their professionalism? Because if somebody tell you I don't want no help, I don't need your help, that's. But it's the bearer of who's bringing the news. How many people you saved that other people said that they didn't want help, but when you went, Priscilla, did they change? Did they make a decision to do something different in their life? It sometimes comes down to who's the messenger. If you have no credibility to that person, they're not going to change because they just think you're giving them a song and dance. There's plenty of people I got off Mass and Cast that people don't know about. When I went down there and I saw my high school buddies, football buddies, people that were in music with me, that had good things. But the thing is, we don't know a lot of these people's problems behind the closed doors. Exactly. Like I had a friend, I won't say his name, in elementary school. One time I saw him downtown, and he was crying to me. I didn't ever even knew that his father was molesting him. So now he's on the block as a male prostitute downtown, right? It broke my heart. You know what I mean? When we see these young ladies being promiscuous and doing the things that they're doing, you don't know what happened in their home. That's true. That's very true. You know what I mean? And not everything starts at home. I can tell you this much. I came from a good home, but you know what kept me on point? The great football coaches that were in my life. The great community people. And I honestly tell everybody this story for real. It was the block that told me not to be on the block. Because I would have been just like any other young man out there thinking that was cool because that's all you've seen. There's more to life than the presence of what they put before us. And we have to dig deep within ourselves and give people opportunity. How much further would have been at the age of 56 of when I was 16, 17, 18 and was engaging in this lifestyle of activism? Where would I be now if someone really put me under their wing? But I was able to hear the old stories on, I can watch what you're going through and not go through the same problems as you because you're my teacher. I saw my friends go through the things that they went through, and I said, I'm not getting involved in that. Got a caller? Yes. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sister Priscilla. I've actually watched your show before. I'm a very big fan. My name is Samuel Pierce, and I actually had a question for the candidate. I was wondering, what is your plan for family stabilization and expanding housing equity and home ownership?
Family stabilization, that's like one of my top things there, and I'll reveal a little bit more today. The government owes our families. They separated us. And that's not just black, that's not just white, that's the 99% that didn't get the access of great education, great health care. So we have to start from the top. There's a lot of elders that are taking care of our kids. There's a lot of vets that come home that don't have access, where their family doesn't understand what's going on. You would have thought after Vietnam and the tragedy that we dealt with Vietnam, with so many people dying, that we would have a better understanding on how to counsel families. We don't. We're nowhere further than now. It's getting people to understand the importance of equity. Some people just will not want to buy a home because they feel the responsibility, but they're not looking long term.
Yep.
When it comes to healthcare, we need better choices, right? We're heading in the right direction. You know, it's good that we're in Boston, Massachusetts, but some countries actually have some better healthcare. Like, teachers don't have to pay for healthcare. They don't pay for taxes in other countries, you know.
Yeah, some countries their health care is free.
Free.
You know, and we pay 2 arms and 2 legs, you know, and they're always trying to get you with these schemes and things. I mean, it's just like every time you turn around, the schemes, you know, it's frustrating.
No elder should worry about
Health
a can of tuna fish or their medication. They shouldn't have to cut. Like, I heard some real horror stories where a person has heart medication, but they split the pill in half, so they don't take all the pills. Like, if they only give them 16, that 16 will last longer because they're going to split the medication in half. So that means they're not even getting the proper dosage, right? And young people, look into your families.
Yeah.
Have a little bit more respect.
I think that the young folks, I'd like to see the young folks and the elderly working together. Like, there's a lot of things that go on, and like, especially like since COVID, with our elderly, they just don't want to come out,
Yep.
or they, you know, for whatever reason, they don't have the proper technical support that they need. Like, they may not have a laptop, or they may not have a smartphone, or something like that. But I think all seniors and elders should have that. You
Yep.
know, because
Some of them are also scared. Some of the elders are scared because
True.
of the violence.
yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
I was going to actually ask you,
Yep.
do you have a plan for police and community relations and public safety and youth violence?
Yes, I do. And without going too deep, because there's too many of the counselors at large that are listening, but it's not about them. We have to just really dig deep and understand that you have to find the officers that care, the officers who dig deep and really get out there. And they don't even get rewarded for the things that they're doing. One, it's just not about having a good time. Dig deep. Community police mean a lot more because they have a closer connection to the people who are on the street. We need to have police officers that care a little bit more on this aspect with mental health. We need to revamp the police force, just like we have all these different groups for drug unit, we have the rape crisis unit, and all those different units. We need to put together, if we're missing 300 and something officers, we need to start the pathway of building officers who are more socially balanced, mental health officers that know how to dive deep and work with the people that are out there. Because if you have a regular officer who's overworked, he's not going to have the time to understand that Bob didn't take his medication and he's tweaking out. That's why we lost so many people on Blue Hill Ave. That's why we lost so many families when a mother would call for police because their son or daughter is having an episode. Those officers didn't know how to respond. And how did they respond? By killing some of those young people in our homes. And we know the stories. We
Yep.
can go on and on about some of it. And there was no recourse to those officers who made those bad decisions. We have to hold the officers to a high accountability because they're here to protect and serve. And once again, protect and serve, but it should be serve and protect. Because if you're protecting first, that means you're not listening to what's going on. You might not understand why Mrs. Johnson is screaming at the person down the street and they're arguing, because Mrs. Johnson might be thinking she's back in 1962. Right? We need people who are compassionate as officers, and that's going to take some time. That's not going to be a quick fix.
Right, but maybe they need to have a course in the academy. Maybe that needs to be one of their courses on how to deal, how to de-escalate. Because I see sometimes that the police escalate more than they de-escalate, and that definitely should be part of the training, because you don't have to shoot people.
No.
Unless they,
You got to do what you got to do.
Right. Self-defense is something different, but we have so many stories of, police officers shooting people in the back, shooting them with their hands raised and all that.
I even have a story. When I was a kid, we were down, we had just finished our newspaper routes, and I was taking my friends, we were all going to the movie theater, and I guess some other kids robbed some people, and I think I was 12. Officer put a gun in my face and in my mouth. I'll kill you, little. I said, sir, we're not who you're looking for. And as you can see, we have our own money and we're dressed clean. Right? But I knew how to deal with police officers. Even though I was scared out of my behind, right? I knew how not to move. Right? And Black Panthers back in the days gave courses on how to tell people when the police officer pulls you out your home, take off all your clothes. And people are like, I ain't taking off my clothes. No, you're taking off your clothes because there's no way they could say you had a weapon on you. Right? We started the food bank programs. Black Panthers. Feeding in our neighborhood. What did they do? Shut them down, and a few years later, they said, that's the way to the people. Give them food. They'll be quiet. So a lot of things that we started first that we didn't continue to do. But we have to have self-love. It all starts with self-love and confidence in yourself.
Yeah. So then, what would you do to help educate people about some of this stuff? Do you have a plan for education and daycare, or what is your plan?
One thing that I would do is what I would call the counselor's corner. Once a week, I would be having open meetings to the community, because it's hard for people to get to City Hall, right? It's hard for them to invest time. So at least once a week, during the weekday, I'll be having after hours online. And that's the beauty about where we're at now. Everything doesn't have to be in person. So once a week, I will be speaking to the community throughout the whole district. And then once a month, throughout the district, I will be going to different places to talk to them about things coming up. It's very important for people.
That sounds a lot. I was going to say once a week.
It's not a lot to me. You know why it's not a lot to me? Because it's not work. It'll never be a lot to me, because I am invested in making change. I've been doing this work for 3 decades, and it took you guys to tell me when was the last time I took a vacation. I haven't realized it. In 3 decades, I've been so focused on doing the work. I go from project to project to project, and it's not work to me. To everyone else, it may be work to them, but I really love doing what I'm doing. So once a week ain't a big deal to me, and once a month ain't a big deal to me. The city's paying me. Those are the constituents and the voters that are making sure that I'm out here getting the job done. They don't want me to half. They don't want me to play. We need results now. And the only way I know how to get results is being on time, being a man of your word, and being dedicated to what you say you're going to do. I don't know everything, but one thing I do know is I can navigate families through the city and state level of politics. It's just about having compassion. And we don't have that up at City Hall right now. Half of them, I believe, are going to bounce in a couple of years and move up on another seat.
Well, Sister Priscilla, you obviously used to work in City Hall and used to work in financing. And so what do you think we can do with job training and employment with the both of you there, thinking about the budgets? And I think the budget now is $5 billion or something like that. So once you became a city councilor, Cliff, maybe you can talk to Priscilla about what your plan would be for the budget, job training, and employment.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Sam. One, we got to find the credible companies that are actually diving in and doing the work. Most of the mom and pop companies, like Priscilla, when she started her programming, she did it from the bottom of her heart, and a lot of them resources were coming out of her own money. All right? That can't happen for programs that are growing. We got to stop supporting outside interest groups that come in here and say they're going to be our savior. I'd rather see somebody like Priscilla, the block, those who are invested in making change in our community, be in the front line. We have to look at people's credibility and see if they're getting the job done. And then we got to do the checks and balances. Are you actually doing the work? Are you actually doing what you're saying? And that comes to accountability and researching these people. You just don't give someone a $10 million budget and in less than 5 years, by law, they break up their company and then they leave with all those resources. Who gets left in the bag? The people who are being served, getting the services from a program that's not even going to exist in 5 years. We have no recourse on making the right decisions. I can account for many programs that got grant money and I didn't even see them out here. So those things under my watch won't happen. If you say you're doing something, just like, what is it, the IRS, we're going to check you. You're just not going to get this money for nothing. We need people that are really going to be invested in our youth, our elders, our veterans, and our families. That's what you're paid for. Get the job done.
Yeah,
So Priscilla, you did the Boston residence job policy. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Well, the Boston resident job policy is an ordinance that was signed in 1983 by then Mayor Ray Flynn, and it's supposed to help people of color, Boston residents, and females get on these construction jobs. And excuse me.
Excuse me.
And it's supposed, so as you know, I did a lot of work, a lot of protesting and trying to get the Boston resident job policy so that it would be enforceable.
Yes.
So in 2017, working along the late Chuck Turner and the Boston Jobs Coalition and the Black Economic Justice Institute, we were able to get the ordinance changed. 51% Boston residents, 40% people of color, and 12% females. And some of these companies are doing it, and some of them aren't. And the thing about it, we need more people to do that. They always come up with excuses. They can't find the people, or
they don't last long at the job. They're not qualified.
And there's so many different concerns around that, because first of all, this is a union town, and we know that most of the unions get all these jobs, but there's a lot of other jobs that are not union. And these are the jobs that we tried. I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Katrina Conrad at work too, down at Nubian Square on the corner of Williams and Washington Street. If you're looking to get training, OSHA, CPR, all different construction things, you need to go see her, because she has a training program. But the bottom line is that because this is run mostly by the unions seem to have a niche on the training. But there are other training programs. Yeah. Bishop Dickerson, he has a training program. I can't remember the pastor's name there. What's his name, Pastor Hobbs?
Hutchinson, Reverend Hutchinson.
Yeah, Reverend Hutchinson. He has a carpenter's program that he's doing. We got the People's Academy. You know, there's other programs, and there are contractors that can do the work. However, things have changed. Everything, everything's not paper anymore. Everything is like computerized. Yep. So you gotta like continue to do the classes and continue to upgrade just your certificates and things like that. But we need our own training facility where we can train our people to do this work. Because right now there's no competitions with the unions. The unions run it. They do what they want to do. And so the only thing I could suggest is that we just keep fighting. We just stay in this fight and we don't let up. I'm now a Boston Employment Commissioner. I guess they just got tired of me just coming down there fussing and all this other stuff. But
well, it's not fussing. I mean, you're telling facts and truth. And look what you just mentioned about the programs that are doing it themselves. A lot of these men and women or these small organizations are putting their money together with no resources from the city, no resources from the state, right? I mean, and these people have long track records, they're investing back into the community, but the businesses and the powers to be are not investing back. It's more about who knows who and who they're letting through the door. They're not looking. And how do you expect someone that's not from this town to understand who's been paving the way for a long time? So any young Joe Smo come up to him and say, I got this program, and they dice it up right because they do the writing well and it all looks right. A lot of the problems are we need to give training to these programs how to do your paperwork, how to fill it out so you don't miss an I, you don't miss a T.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
A lot of time they're so happy getting the job done and doing it the way that they're doing it. They don't even know there's resources out there for them. So that'll be a thing that I also bring to the table. If you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the track. This is the steps that you do. Just like how I learned how to do this political stuff. I learned it by tracks and listening to people and learning every day. Life is about learning. But if we don't give them the right opportunity, it's going to be an outside interest group that acts like they're going to save us, and then they're out of here.
Now, Sister Priscilla, don't you have a school or a training facility that teaches about some of this, the Marcus Anthony Hall Institute?
Yes, Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. That is a program that I started a couple years ago, training and teaching our young folks not only how to run for office, but how to prepare themselves, but also how do you talk to elected officials? How do you work with them? How do you talk to reporters? We had reporters come in. We took our youth last year to GBH, so that they can see it's not just about a camera and reporting. There's a lot of different things that go on in a newsroom or in a TV or radio station that our young folks can learn. Our young folks want to learn about graphics and coding and all this stuff, you know.
Yep.
And so that's what my program is trying to train these young folks. I have people like Professor Jermadari from UMass as one of my instructors. I have Shagun Idawu as one of my instructors. I have James Mackey.
Yeah.
And these are people that are doing things. You know, they're out there and they're doing the work. And so we need, like Marcus Anthony Institute, I'm just looking for it to grow bigger and better and really bring some people in. Why can't we have an 18-year-old city councilor? Brockton did it, right? So why can't we do it? It just is. It's the mindset of the people. It's the mindset of the community, and it's the mindset of our government. If we don't get out there and vote, they don't pay us any attention. And I don't know how many times I have to say this on this air. I've been on this air since 2015, and I think I have not changed when I say the only time your vote don't count is when you don't cast it. Because you can go into the polls and you can go sign your name and blank people. You don't have to vote for anybody, but you do have to show up at the polls and be counted.
Yeah.
Because that's why we're not getting the resources. Because they'll be like, oh, only 5 people from this community voted. I mean, some people are winning by 100 votes, 200. You represent 40 and 50,000 people.
It's the same number that votes consistently every year. And that's why it's called political science. It's a science to this game. And it's a reason why we keep getting the same, and I'll call it fake leadership. Because there's no accountability to them. They know they can come out there. There was a time all you had to do was just bring some chicken, some popcorn, a little donut, and they're voting for you. Those times have changed.
Well, things changed a lot too with COVID. When COVID hit, you know, there's like nobody was, you know, just like this year, you would never even really know that there was an election because you don't hardly see no signs. You don't hardly see people door knocking. You don't. It's like where are the people at?
Well, right now we're playing political politics on
Zoom
on namesakes. It's the first time when I speak with the experts across the country and here and in Boston. It's unheard of how many endorsements went out there for so many rookie candidates, right? It tells you which direction they really want to go, right? It's obvious with the muscle power they're putting behind. That's how come, you know, our team knocking on 50,000 doors really doesn't mean anything. But those are 50 identifications, 50,000 one-on-ones. Those are real IDs, right? I don't know where it's going to bring us at the end of the day, but I know I'm fighting unions. If one candidate got 10 unions, those are 10 pieces of different lit going out.
Yep.
So as I'm walking with a team of 10 dynamic people throughout the city, and we're door knocking, the only advantage we had on everybody is that we were the first to put our hat in the arena. No one understands that. I didn't come after looking, oh, it looks like Flaherty's going to leave. It looks like there's chaos. No. While the chaos was going on, I went to all the councilors at large, and this is exactly what I said. I'm not running against you. I'm putting my years of service on notice to a community that I love that loves me. It'll be an honor to work side by side with you. It'll be an honor to work side by side with you. But at that time when I was speaking, somebody had to go. Right? Let's keep it 100. All these other people are jumping in the race because they got wind Flaherty was leaving. Right? I put my hat in the arena when it wasn't comfortable to do it. And I can honestly tell you, none of those other candidates went and respectfully spoke to the other councilors at large. When we got on the ballot, all 13 councilors in office helped me get on the ballot. That shows you work relationships, right? Now we're in crunch mode, right? You know, so everybody has their agenda and what they're going to do. But this is what collective politics and working together in solidarity is all about. I'm going to run a clean campaign. I made it clear to everybody else. You can jump around what y'all want to do, but you don't want to come against me with that, because I know enough in Boston who's really who, right? So we ain't going there. The people need to hear equality and sense, and somebody that has the guts to really unify City Hall. I might have helped Wu get in office, but I won't be accountable to her. I'll be accountable to the constituents that voted me in, the voters. Our job is not to be cool with Mayor Wu. Our job.
But she only has one vote too, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
But she has a lot of influence.
And
that's what happens when you become a mayor of a city, especially like Boston, because Boston is a mayor-strong city, and so the mayor basically is well known and basically gets a lot of attention, but. Also, I feel like our mayor is inexperienced. She was on the city council for 10 years, but I still don't think she understands. See, the problem I have is with the people that come here from another state or another country, for that matter, and they come in here and they get involved in our politics, and those that of us that have been here on the ground doing the work, we're just like sideline, because people know that certain people. Then if they get in, they ain't gonna let that happen. If they get in, they not gonna let that. Us
well, one of the things I was gonna ask you is that since you would be working with the city council and obviously the mayor, how would you tell people about this new $50,000 forgivable loan that they're giving out to families and homeowners who have 2 to 4 family housing?
Well, I think you're telling us about it now.
Well, that's just something.
How do you go about getting that? Because I could sure use that.
Well, one thing that they're going to have to do, Sam, is educate the community on exactly what you're talking about. Because when things are and make it easy. What is that saying? Make it stupid easy, or
make it so that an 8th grade can understand it.
Yes, because when you put all these different dialogues in there, people are confused. But they have to also learn to take the time to learn those things, because anything dealing with ownership, partnership, or anything, of course, it's going to be a little bit deeper. But we have to have these real tough conversations in the community for them to understand what you just spoke about, because this is fairly new. It's been in existence for a year, and now it's getting more muscle, and they're pushing it.
So is it through the city or through the state?
It's through the city.
Okay.
So the city basically gives you, so you remember the PPP loans, the personal protection loans that the government was giving out if you had a business, and basically it was free money as long as you had employees working for you. Well, it's the same idea if you own a home. So if you own a 2-family home, a 3-family home, or a 4-family home, they will give you $50,000 so you can renovate it or you can upgrade it, so that you can either put on solar panels or so you can make sure that that your home is safe from coastal flooding. And that's what I was going to ask, my last question, because Boston is obviously the sea level is rising, and with this $50,000 grant, places like in South Boston and Dorchester, and thankfully Roxbury is higher ground, but the Back Bay is not. So what is your plan for coastal flooding, Mr. Braithwaite, if you are?
One thing on coastal flooding, right? We have to take care of our infrastructure inside the city itself. The drains, we have to do a lot of revamping, because when you walk through the city, any little trickle of rain is a big puddle there, almost an ocean. When it comes to the coastal side, we have to worry about the global warming and the rising tides from Iceland, where all the ice is melting. So we have to definitely prepare. I don't know how much longer the seaport area will be around, because
Gonna be the first to go.
it's going to be the first to go. So they spent a lot of money to go nowhere when they should have fixed the infrastructure and the grounds and protected. So we have a long way to go, and that's a city, but that's really a state and federal issue. But I could be the voice of the people. I'm also worried about how do we protect inside flooding in our neighborhoods. Right over there on River Street and on the Friendship Road area, there's a small river over there, and some of the homes closer to the water,
Now,
some of the homes closer to the water are losing ground. They're losing their property because it's chafing away. The water's rising. So we have issues within the city itself with canals that go through that people don't even know that are around there. So we have to really dive deep and take care of our infrastructure to make sure that coastal flooding won't be that much of an issue inner city, because what's going to happen on the coast is going to happen on the coast. The water rises, it's going to rise. It's going to bash the walls, and a lot of buildings that were built are going to come down.
but what about the new Dorchester Bay City? So they're basically doing a new seaport right in JFK, the Dorchester Bay City. And if you notice, the seaport doesn't have a library, it doesn't have a police station, it doesn't have a fire station. So what would your plan be for the new Dorchester Bay City? Because they're actually planning on making these big high-rises and skyscrapers there,
Well,
and we want to make sure...
I want you to look back,
Dark.
dive deeper into the plans, because they do have a fire station and things that they're going to bring around there. So look into the plans. Yeah, they have it. It will be set up down there. They won't so much need won't so much need a police station, because you got the state trooper barracks right around the corner from there. So that'll be enough considered for them. And then you have South Boston Police Station that's not far from that area. So the infrastructure, a police station doesn't have to actually be right there. Fire station doesn't have to actually be right there, but they are going to redo a fire station in that area. So yes. We can chalk that up later and go over the plans, but yes, they will have all that infrastructure in there, as well as a supermarket close.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks
Have a
for
wonderful
calling,
day.
Sam.
And I like to go over a little bit about the performing arts and rehearsal spaces and complexes for our art world. As we well know, in Brighton, they got rid of a lot of the studios and a lot of the home places for them to live.
Yeah,
And
MIT, Harvard is taking over Austin Brighton,
Yeah.
as Northeastern is taking over Roxbury and Mission Hill and JP.
Can you say it again? Well, some of my real top concerns when it comes, my top 7, because I know time is almost against us. Family stabilization means a lot to me. That's rebuilding our families, and I truly believe that government owes our families, because they're a part of separating the families. Education and daycare. Most people don't think about daycare as being a part of education, but my belief in education, it starts from when you come out the womb. And in Chinese cultures, it actually starts while you're in the womb because they be reading to their children. And come to find out, my father used to read to my mother, so I guess that's why I'm kind of smart. Policing, relationships. We have to work and have a better job on police dealing with us in the community. And youth violence. Everybody just wants to blame the youth, but the violence is really coming from what they're seeing us as adults do. We don't know how to resolve anything without it being angry and us pushing anger. We have to do a better job as adults so we can be able to mentor to our youth. The youth are only doing what they're seeing. They're copying it. So we just got to dive deep and find out what some of the problems are. Job training and employment. That's vital. You have to have the job training so you can get the employment, and you need the education. And stop thinking that you're just going to come up and get a job for $250,000 a year, or whatever the case may be. You have to work to get to that point and work in small groups and practice entrepreneurship. If you want to be able to get that big time money right off the rip, then you have to know the foundations of running a serious company and what it takes to do that. So those are the things I would bring to the table. In healthcare, we need to find better resources on our healthcare. We're doing pretty good in Massachusetts because, we have so many hospitals and some of the cutting edge scientists here. But we got to have better healthcare for our elders. We got to make sure that no one's left behind. We got to make sure that there's mental illness helping these young people navigate through life. And
there's some older people with mental health issues as well.
Oh yeah.
So we can't just blame it all on the
no, and that's the thing. We always want to blame the young, and we're a representation of the young. We lead by example. But overall, 3 decades of service to our community. This will never be work to me. This will always be my lifestyle. This is what I know. Like when you hear someone on the block say, "This is all I know, son. This is all I can do." Well, this is all I know, and this is all I want to do is serve you. So I hope with the early voting coming, which is October 28th and November 3rd, take advantage of early voting because anything can happen to November 7th. It could be a snowstorm. You could have lost a loved one, and you don't have time to go to the polls. You have to look at voting as it's your right. And many people, black, white, green, blue, died for you to have the right to vote. I want you to look at my years of service and realize 3 decades, every day, I never stopped. So I humbly ask for one of your 4 votes to be your next Boston City Council at large. And yes, I'll be held accountable, and I will never turn my back on a city that never turned its back on me. And we've come a long way, Boston, but let's don't get caught up in identity politics. Who's the truth and who you believe is going to get the work done, and that'll all be told November 7th.
Well, Cliff, thank you. I appreciate you coming in. You was only supposed to be here for half an hour, but since I didn't have another guest, you lucked out and stayed the whole hour.
I thought we were still on 5 minutes. Once you're in good conversation, you can't never stop. But also, I want to tell everybody, if you really care and you can't make it downtown, go on the website at bostoncity.gov. The reason why they're going to be speaking about the mass and cast and all the situations that we're dealing with in the city. And this is your opportune time to let your voice be heard. Get off the sideline and get involved. That's all I can ask you.
Speak up and speak out.
Yep.
We are the people and we have the power.
Yes, we do.
And if we don't, and one place we could really show our power is at that voting booth.
The only place we can.
Right.
The only place we can, and by protesting and getting involved. And when someone tells you you can't do something, you look in the mirror and you say, your God's good.
Yep. I remember someone told me I couldn't do something.
And you did it.
Did a lot of things. But I think, I just feel like, so I want to remind everybody that on October the 11th, we are having a forum.
Yeah.
For District 7 candidates the District 7 candidates are Althea Garrison and Tanya Anderson. Tanya Fernandez Anderson, and it will be at the DeWitt Center. And there's an option. We have flyers going around. There's an option to watch it virtually if you don't want to come in person. So, the Black Local Organizing Committee, we are having this forum on October 11th, and on October the 25th, we will be having a at-large city council candidates forum, and that will be held at the Lena Park on American Legion Highway.
Yeah.
So, I want to thank you, Cliff, for coming
thank
on.
you.
And I also want to thank you publicly for supporting me with Marcus Anthony. You came to our launch. You came to our
I support you in everything you do because I love your work. I remember holding a sign, something with Jobs and Nubian Square, and it just popped up the other day, and I'm like, man, we've been around each other a long time.
And that's when they built the Bruce Bowling building out there.
Yep. We were able to take that first little bit of sand and throw it up like we was somebody.
But we as
Thank you.
people, I want to thank you as well. But we as people, especially black people, we have to work together. I don't care what nobody say. We know we're not going to get everybody. Jesus couldn't get everybody. However, as community that's been around in Boston, grew up